Danny Manning, Charles Barkley, Billy Packer, Dick Vitale, all among the biggest names in their sport, and all were elected this week to the College Basketball Hall of Fame. And Arnie Ferrin of Utah is right there with them. The former Ute joins us from Salt Lake City. Arnie, that's a pretty good group to be a part of. What does this honor mean to you?
I don't believe that I've ever had an honor that was more important. Part of that is as you get older, the things that happen to you become more precious. And this certainly is precious for me.
Arnie, it was a long time coming. What were your emotions when you got the word?
One of the things I learned as you get more mature, be sure you answer all of your phone calls.
Well, you led Utah to the NCAA title in 1944 as a freshman. What do you remember about those days?
I remember that we're the only team that started 4 freshmen that ever won the NCAA championship. I remember how naive we were. Going to New York City, only 2 of the players and coaches had ever been to the big city. And to play in Madison Square Garden with 15,000 people was a little change from playing in the Desert Gym in front of 2,000. So it was very exciting for us. We were wide-eyed. We had an opportunity that was unusual to play in the NCAA tournament because we elected to play in the NIT. We lost in that tournament, and because of an accident to the Arkansas team, we got a re-invite. So it made a very special story to have the second chance to go back to New York, play in the tournament, and win it.
Then 3 years later, your team wins the NIT. Was that even bigger than winning the NCAA?
You know, I don't know. In our minds, I think the NCAA tournament overwhelmed us. Playing in the NIT in 1947, I thought we were a pretty good basketball team and that we probably could compete. And it was a good win for us because I suspect that Kentucky was the best basketball team in the country that year. They ended up being the Olympic team. They ended up also, 5 of them joined the NBA as a team in Indianapolis. So to beat them was really more important, I guess, in the sense that we'd accomplished more beating that great team.
Arnie, how much has the game changed since you laced them up?
Well, somebody asked me that question the other day saying, could you play now? And I explained to them that I don't know whether I could now, but I could then, that the game has changed significantly. Our coach, we've been reading about it because of this honor. Players could not go to the bench during timeouts to talk to the coach. Our coach's philosophy on shooting was that you must be on balance, 2 feet squared, facing the basket before you could shoot it. I imagine he's rolling over in his grave when he sees some of the things the players are doing today.
I know you live in Salt Lake and you keep up with the Utes. What do you think of new coach Jim Boylan?
I'm a very big fan of Jim Boylan's. I'm a fan of his coaching technique, but more than that, I'm a fan of his involvement with his players for educational purposes, as well as his involvement in the community for his team. I think he's a great coach, and I think he's going to be very successful here.
Arnie, the Hall of Fame induction ceremony is in November. Have you started to think about your speech?
Well, with Dick Vitale and Charles Barkley, I'm sure my speech will be very quiet and small.
All right, Arnie Ferrin, a true Utah legend. Congratulations and thanks so much for joining us.
You bet. Thank you.
More basketball still to come on the Mountain View. The question will answer, what did John Calipari do wrong in the NCAA championship game? Our coaches Marty Fletcher and Larry Mangino will take a closer look. Plus, we will sit down with Randall Cunningham. Bet you didn't know he was a great punter in college, and it might even make him make the Hall of Fame.
Time now to talk some hoops, and now that basketball season is over, many wonder, what do the coaches do? So we decided to bring in our resident coaches to talk about the offseason. We have Marty Fletcher and Larry Mangino. And let's start with you, Marty. What is the offseason like for coaches? I mean, I'm sure recruiting is one of the main issues right now.
Well, you're right on the money. First of all, there's no offseason. It's become 365 days a year, and it's recruiting, recruiting, recruiting. Now, we're just coming off the Final Four where there's a dead period, but in the recruiting process, you're not only recruiting for this year, you're recruiting for the future. So you have junior recruiting. You have a period in November where you want to try to sign the best players in the junior class this year. That period starts like November 8th or 9th, goes for a week. You also have the spring period, which they're just getting into right now. That lasts a little longer, maybe 5 weeks. By May 15th, normally all the signing is done. So it's a full year process. It's not like football. Football has a national signing date, and 99% of the players sign on that day. So it's year-round. Also, coaches, while they're doing the recruiting, they also start their tour, their booster tour, particularly in May, where they'll go all over the state or wherever their university is located, and they'll talk to their boosters. They do get a little golf in on those booster runs, but believe me, it's not like the old days, after basketball's over, you take 4 months off. No, they're working extremely hard. There's no vacation when you're a college basketball coach. Believe me when I tell you that.
So, Larry, let's talk about this. You got the recruiting, you got your booster tour. When do you find time for off-season workouts? Because I know a lot of schools do that. And how about foreign players like Jonathan Tavanari? I know he has hopes of going to play for Brazil in the Olympics.
Well, one of the key things, you talk about how are you going to improve your team? Recruiting, definitely. That's your key question. Who is going to be in your program? Who are the pieces of clay that you're going to mold to win a championship, get to the NCAA tournament? Then once they're in, you have to improve the players that are with your program now. That's a key. Are they improving physically? Is their skill level getting higher? So we're talking about time in the weight room. Some of these kids, Lee Kamard has to put on maybe 10 pounds. He doesn't have to become Hulk Hogan, but maybe 10 pounds. That takes time. It takes 6-8 months. Karl Malone, you got to get bigger and bigger. You got to work hard. Conditioning. Linskins from Wyoming has to get in better shape. So each of these players has a conditioning, body-changing types summer coming up, spring and summer. Then their skill level has to come up, and that is dictated by the coach. We know that you're not allowed to be with your team all the time, but you can certainly give them programs that they can accomplish. They can work out. If you and I work out together, the chances are we're going to make each other better. So that's what they're looking for. Over the summer, where are you going to be? Are you on campus taking summer classes? If you are going to be in the gym some of the time. You're not studying all the time, so you're going to get a good hour-and-a-half workout in to work on your shooting, your dribbling, and so forth, so that you can get better. And then the last piece would be, do you have the opportunity to play? Whether it be in a sanctioned summer league, obviously an Olympic team with one of these other groups that we're talking about. So the more you can play, improve your body, and improve your skill, that's going to show and pay benefits for your team the following year.
Coach Fletcher, how about Tim Miles from CSU? He had a team that had a lot of freshmen, a lot of walk-ons. What's he doing right now?
Well, certainly the lifeline of college athletics, we go back to the recruiting piece. This is something that he and his staff have been working since day one. They knew they would not have a lot of personnel this year, so they spent a lot of time recruiting underclassmen, junior college ranks. So you have to improve your team with improved talent. We know Coach Miles is a terrific coach. You don't go on the road and beat Wisconsin. You don't go on the road and beat Marquette. So it's all about putting the missing pieces together, and that's a long process. It's not a quick fix. It's a process, and that's what they're doing right now as we speak. Of course, when you talk about summer, you have the summer camps. You go to the recruiting places where you watch players, and so their calendar is full. As I mentioned, not a lot of time to have vacation. When they do go on vacation, it's a working vacation. They're still thinking recruiting. You think recruiting 24 hours a day, 365 days a year.
Well, I'm going to throw a curveball at you, Larry. How about UNLV women's team? they don't have a coach. So what's going on there right now?
Well, they're the players, if they're smart, okay? There's no leadership per se, but they know that there's a new coach coming in. That coach is going to have expectations. We know the administration is going to make a good decision there, so the expectations are going to be high, just like it is on the men's side. So those players had better be working on their game. Their skill level has got to come up so that they cut down their turnovers as a team, and that is definitely related to your ball handling skills, passing, and so forth. So they better be playing together. If they're just hanging out at the slots on the strip, they're making a big-time mistake because somebody's coming there soon to get that program going.
All right, got to ask you a question about the NCAA championship game, Memphis and Kansas. We've discussed it. Coach, you're kind of passionate about what happened towards the end of the game. What did John Calipari do wrong?
Well, he hadn't done a whole lot of things wrong winning 38 games, the most in the history of college basketball. Now, he's taken a lot of shots for not fouling the last 10 seconds of the basketball game. We've talked to many coaches that don't foul in that situation. I think if you talk to Coach Calipari, he'd be telling himself, why didn't I call a timeout after Derrick Rose made that free throw to put him up 3 with about 10 seconds to go? At that particular time, you could have defined your defense a little more, switch on all ball screens, switch everything, don't give a wide open shot. Now, what you saw was a situation where, in my opinion, you should foul. I've been in that situation before, and I've gone ahead and fouled. You're talking about Kansas, a team that is terrific. You're talking about teams that make plays. They got big-time playmakers, and so you don't wait and see and hope that shot doesn't go in. I think you foul and put them on the foul line. Hindsight is always 20/20. It's a tough call, but probably where Coach Calipari made the biggest mistake in his own mind is he didn't call the timeout after they made the free throw because he had timeouts to burn.
Well, I agree 100%. And the key is, when we were coaching, we'd discuss these things in the fall. Every year this situation came up, we'd have this discussion. Do we foul? At what point? Is there 10 seconds left? Do we foul? Is there 5 seconds? At what point is it a mandatory foul? And then your team knows that. You practice those end-of-game situations enough so that even if you don't have a timeout, your team knows, Coach, we practice it in October and November. We had these little mini scrimmages, so we knew that we're going to foul at this point in this situation. We are going to then box out on the free throw so that we don't give up the second shot regardless of size. We had that problem at Air Force sometimes that we'd say if we foul, they may have a distinct size advantage. They may get the offensive rebound. But I think big mistake, costing the game.
It is always a pleasure talking hoops with the coaches. Larry and Marty, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And now it's on to Decision 08, but it isn't Obama and Hillary. It is the College Football Hall of Fame. They'll announce their new class on May the 2nd, and every week we're taking a look at one of the Mountain West nominees. Last week it was Jay Novacek of Wyoming. Today it's Randall Cunningham, who's gone from punter to pastor, and he told our Molly Sullivan that football helped prepare him for life.
Decision 08, the College Football Hall of Fame.
Preparation of life itself, starting off from Pop Warner, high school football, boys club football, college, NFL, it was all a character builder. And everyone growing up, we're immature, we're wet behind the ears, we have no clue what we're doing with our lives, we're still trying to figure out who we are. But in the meantime, God is constructing us like he's doing a beautiful monument. And now I stand behind a pulpit, kind of the same person, battling all the time, making sure that I'm successful. So this transformation has caused me to say, thank you, Lord, take over, do what you have to do.
Now, everyone knows you as an incredible quarterback, but you're being recognized for your punting.
To me, being on the ballot for the College Football Hall of Fame is an honor, first of all. And then to know that when I was playing with the NCAA, I was an All-American punter. And then I was an all-West quarterback, but my accolades, even though Doug Flutie, John Elway, and myself were the only guys who threw for over 2,500 yards in 3 consecutive seasons, that was huge back then. But then I got in as a punter, so that was the one thing that I felt, you know what, maybe I really get a shot in the NFL because I'm a punter too now, guys. Remember, I'm a punter too. And because I was Kodak All-American punter, I think they really did look at me in the NFL, but I'm excited. So I'll go in however I can. Punter, kicker. I can't go in as a coach, of course.
What's your most memorable moment as a Rebel? Is there something that sticks out?
I have 3 of them. The most important one was when we won the California Bowl as a team, because that was a thing of unity.
First time, right?
Yes, and you know, I had gone to the championship in high school. We lost to Long Beach Poly, who everybody loses to, so that doesn't make a difference. But we won in college. We went 16-2 in the NFL. But the number one memorable moment was when we actually won that California Bowl, and our coach was just in love with his players. The number two was when we lost against SMU at home, our last game of the season. I will always remember that game because even though we were defeated, it really proved that we never quit and we never gave up. We played a team that was better than us. And the final one, the third one, was when they retired my college jersey at UNLV, my last season. I was like, I didn't even understand it back then. You know, they still haven't retired my high school jersey, but that was number three.
Now, after leading the Rebels to their first ever bowl victory in '84, you left for the NFL without graduating. But 20 years later, you re-enrolled, ultimately scoring a degree. So why was that important to you?
The truth is, I never planned on graduating from college. Mama said graduate, but I had 3 examples of my brothers who didn't graduate, so I was kind of following in their footsteps. There was a lady and a man who came to me, Chuck Davidson Sr., and another lady named Janice Henry, and they said, you should go back and get your degree. And I didn't ask him about a degree. I wasn't worried about it. You know, I'm an entrepreneur now, I'm a pastor. You know, I'm not going to get a degree and go out and get a job. I know what my calling is. But they say, we want you to consider being a coach at UNLV. I said, I'm teaching a Bible study. I don't know if I can do that. But because, you know, and my wife said, go do it. It'd be good for the kids. So I said, okay. And so then I went and, you know, got that taken care of and walked down the aisle, and it was, wow, I graduated from college.
How did your time on the playing field help prepare you for where you are today?
When you truly surrender your life to God, a lot of people say, oh, I believe in God, I believe in God. But when you really surrender to God, that means you not only trust Him, but you actually rely on Him. And when I get up in the morning, I say, Lord, I surrender. Lead me, guide me, take me where you want me to go. I'm your vessel, I belong to you. My life is no longer mine, it belongs to you. And that's what makes it easier, because if there are days that are frustrating, like Yolanda said, I can handle it.
Still ahead on the show, Jim Boylan and Kyle Whittingham. They're doing some special service, and they're doing it for a great cause. This is the Mountain View, presented by Dodge.
Tuesday night in Denver, a new class went into the Colorado Sports Hall of Fame, and among those inductees were Fisher DeBerry. In 27 seasons, he guided the Falcons to 17 winning years, 3 conference titles, and a dozen bowl appearances. DeBerry is the winningest coach in Service Academy history, and his Falcons won the Commander-in-Chief's trophy in an amazing 14 times.
To be recognized with the class that's coming in that is being inducted tonight, to think that my name is associated with Dow Festival and Peter Lacroix, and you know, people like that, you know, is awesome. And but to know who all are in the you know, the Hall of Fame here in Colorado is a very humbling experience, and one that I know that we'll cherish forever and ever.
I have some news and notes to report. And this first one, unfortunately, Tony Gwynn Jr. goes to the Brewers DL with a bad hamstring. Heidi Vanderveer is leaving San Diego State for the head coaching job at Occidental College. And Katie Coronado of New Mexico is ranked 5th in the nation in the javelin. Her Lobo team is 24th in the new coaches poll.
The biggest game on San Diego State's football schedule is September 6th at Notre Dame. Of course, the Irish sell out every game, but there are some tickets available for Aztec students. 500 tickets to be exact, and they will go on sale Monday at 9 a.m. Go to the Aztec ticket office at Qualcomm Stadium. You need a valid student ID, and the cost is $65 a ticket. You can only buy one per person. The window opens at 5 o'clock, but I doubt these will last that long.
This is what I'm good at, waiting tables.
This is hard work. I'll tell you what, it makes me appreciate my day job.
You coaches were hard at work this past weekend, all for a good cause. They joined Utah Jazz players and head coach Jerry Sloan as celebrity waiters, helping raise big tips for charities like Community Nursing Services and Navajo Santa. The theme of the night was the 70s disco. See if you can pick out the famous faces behind the big hair. Sammy Lionbaugh takes us inside the party.
I was born in the late 80s, but I watched the movies before I came, so I got prepared. I did my homework.
I don't know anything about the 70s. The only person on our team is Matt Harpring that knows about the 70s.
Those clothes are actually in his closet. He didn't buy those. Those are leftovers. And Coach Sloan wore that to the last game. Don't tell him I said that, though.
My wife Tammy bought this about 2 weeks ago.
Really? Brand new?
Now it looks nice, doesn't it?
Sharp. Are we going to see
it? She paid $20 for it.
You are totally representing tonight.
Representing the Utes, got the Ute tie, got the red tuxedo from Gary White from Formal Wear up there in Bountiful. What more can you ask for?
I was a sprinkler. My wife always gives me a hard time. I do all my 80s dances, the sprinkler, the flight attendant, all that kind of stuff.
There is something about 70s music that makes people want to dance, and the big job here tonight is to score big tips any way they can.
This has been tough. A lot of contact in the paint here. I like it. A lot of bumping, grinding. You can't cut through the lane here without getting hit. It's pretty good.
59-60. Woo! Go Anderson! Woo!
No, I'm not doing push-ups with Coach Witt. He'll kill me.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
I make my tips the old-fashioned way. Just a great service, very prompt, very organized, very thorough.
Have you ever waited tables before?
Yeah, my parents owned a restaurant for 30 years.
Oh.
So I grew up in the restaurant business, so I'm a little rusty, but I'm getting it back. I'm just a big fan of Coach Sloan and known him for a long time and just want to support him and his charity, and he supported me and my program, and I really appreciate it.
Great event, great cause, happy to help out.
I cannot believe he broke out the sprinkler.
That was awesome.
He should have got the Gravedigger going.
Gravedigger, and then the grocery store when you go and put it in your cart. That's the rest of our show. The show is now over on such a bright note. Thank you for joining another edition of The Mountain View presented by Dodge.
That's Natalie Vickers. I'm Marius Payton. And as always, we hope you enjoyed your view from the mountain.
All right, just bring it in a little bit more. That only did it. It's tight. It's hard to change that. It's bad like that. Be more patient on your board. You're too quick. And really, here, pull it in. Okay, don't get that lean. When you're coming out, you still have your hips back. Okay?
I'm like, go home and take Advil Sinus or Tylenol Sinus.
No.
Jacob didn't give me that.
I don't understand. There's a different attitude. Okay, you're just... Gotta have your balance on the board. You need to see your toes kick. You didn't see that. Be patient. Okay. You're waiting, you're trying to wait, but we're just real slow and big in our pipe. Okay. Outboard. That's how you're gonna land. Okay, that's why you're gonna land like that.
Good, Eli, now point your toes.
See your toes kick. Keep your head right there. Wait. Nope. Don't let your legs drop, Randy. Wasn't even a tuck. I didn't count. You weren't even in a tuck. There, just a little far. But that's the right kick setup. We're just a hair back, but beautiful lineup. See? Better. Okay. You could have seen it that time. You could have looked for your toes that time. You gotta kick your toes here, Steve. Look. We have 5 of these.